to the fold. Let's go. We got a little bit of a chilly day here in the beautiful South, but I'm happy to be here. Oh, and the wind roars. In my mind, I was like, and the thunder rolls. All right, I just want to get TikTok set up, and we'll get the fun started here. All right, TikTok. If I could get this to not fall over, then that would be an ideal situation. Okay. All right, we're good. All right. Hello, everybody. It is a beautiful day here in the overcast South. I am happy to be here, and today we're going to talk about homeschooling with nature. Foster Bear, good morning. I had a wonderful birthday yesterday. My wife always makes things special, and I particularly appreciated that when she took out the birthday cake, it had a big 33 on it. She had two balloons, two big threes. So right there, she takes out the birthday cake, 33, and I look at it with a slight laughter, slight giggle, and I go, "You do know I'm 34. My wife forgot how old I was, but nonetheless, it made for a great laugh, and the cake was delicious. So 33, 34, who's counting when you get to a certain point? But I had an absolutely great time. So that was fun, and I got some good work done yesterday, which was nice. But as always, it's right back to business. And I just filmed a class this morning, which I was very excited about. Yeah, 33, 34, who's counting? Hey, Melissa. So I woke up this morning and I still had to actually film the class for this week's nature unit study, and we've had a really great time studying insects this year. We've been doing a nature unit study. Children have planted their own seeds. They've actually constructed their own garden boxes. They've made raised beds. Everyone's doing things a little bit differently depending on their family, their situation, where they live, right? Obviously, if you live in an apartment, well, maybe it's window gardening that's more appropriate. But everyone, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, can really do a great job teaching their children life skills and subject matter using the study of nature. So within making garden boxes and planting seeds and gardening, the last month has really been about, sorry if that plane overhead is really loud, I live near the United States Air Force, and their planes are very loud. That's a United States fighter jet going over my head. Very distracting. Thank you, Uncle Sam. My tax money at work. All right. So, over the last month, we have been studying, good morning, Tiffany. We have been studying garden bugs, and we started by studying so-called bad garden bugs. As I tell the students, it's not that they're bad, it's just their nature, but they're bad for your garden. And there are certain bugs like aphids that will come in and they will eat your crops, and that's not good. So after we got familiar with those garden bugs, we started to study the good garden bugs. And we particularly turned our focus toward the ladybug. And with our study of the ladybug, which eats the aphids, our students actually learned how to attract the ladybugs. So they constructed their own ladybug feeders, right? And through the construction of ladybug feeders, and you put little raisins in them, that actually attracts ladybugs to your garden, and the ladybugs eat the aphids. So our students learned about bad garden bugs, good garden bugs, and now we're getting into specialty bugs. And last week, they learned about the role that worms play in the garden, and they actually constructed their own worm farms. So with that, we had the students get bins, drill holes in the appropriate places, fill the bins with soil, stack the bins on top of one another, right? And put worm castings into the bin. And then what happens is the worms reproduce, they lay eggs, and you actually get a worm farm, and you feed the worms each week. A very cool lesson. And that takes us to this week, where our students are learning about bees and the valuable role that bees play in the ecosystem. And for me, it's been a real joy just reading about bees, learning about bees, and being able to teach that to the students, because the bees truly are a remarkable animal. And through our nature unit study this week, our students will actually be constructing bee baths, which is really cool. Basically you need a shallow dish. You can do this in a variety of ways, but basically your children need a shallow dish, right? And that could come in many forms, but essentially all you need is that shallow dish, shallow as a plate if you want. Then they take pebbles and stones, rocks, they put them on the dish, and then they make a shallow layer of water, just kind of to the top of the rocks and the stones, so that the bees could stand on the rocks and they could drink water. And that's called a bee bath. So the children are constructing a bee bath to try to make their gardens more appetizing to bees, right? Which is a really cool thing. Yeah, it's so funny because if I talk about grables in the world, everyone gets excited. But if I talk about bugs, they're like, what is this guy talking about? Talking about bugs. No one cares. But whatever. So they're constructing their own bee baths, and that will make their gardens more appealing to the bees. And then, they're doing a few things this week. They're actually going to be cooking with honey and making their own honeycomb, they're called caramel honey squares that the students will be making. And then they'll be studying all about bees. So they're learning about what bees do for the environment, how bees are attracted to nectar in flowers. They land on the nectar, they get pollen on their feet, and then they actually fly to other flowers and they fertilize those flowers, right? So without bees, we wouldn't have many of the trees, many of the fruits, many of the flowers, many of the things that we rely on as part of our natural biodiversity and the ecosystem. So students are learning all about the bees. They're studying the beehive, how the honeycombs are made, the architect bees, right? The inner culture of a beehive, right? So they're learning about, my wife actually put together a really good learning material that our members of Homeschools Connected get for free, and is also available as a poster on our website. But she put together this awesome poster where it goes over, there's a queen bee, there's the guardian bees, there's the worker bees, right? They're the nurse bees that take care of the little babies, right? And our students are learning about the inner workings of a beehive, right? They're building their own honeycomb. So we're doing so much this week, and I'm really excited about it. I just filmed the class on it, and I don't know, that's what I wanted to talk about. A lot of people didn't seem to be interested in the beehive talk, but I guess that's the way it goes. But that's fine, because we're into homeschooling, and we find that stuff to be very exciting. Have y'all seen the Bee Movie? I have seen the Bee Movie, and that's with Jerry Seinfeld. And the funniest thing is whenever my wife is around a bee, she gets nervous and she starts flailing. And she always reminds me of that movie where the little bee is getting swung at by the lady. and the bee is down there. He's like, "Hey, lady, take it easy." So Nicole always reminds me of that when she's around a bee. And then there's me in her ear going, "Don't hurt that bee. Don't you hurt that bee." But, it's all fun and games. And we're actually getting our own bees over the next probably 12 months, if not 12 to 18 months. Since then, my kids are in love with bees. Yeah, bees are awesome. Bees are an awesome animal. We've been gardening for about 4 years now, and for those of you that really follow what I do, we do some pretty extensive gardening. We're homesteaders. So, one of the things we've been growing for years now is lavender. And bees love lavender. Like, if you want bees, plant a lot of lavender. In fact, when we set up the homestead, we're actually going to line our driveway, which is rather long. The entire driveway is going to be lined with lavender. So like it's a little pathway. It's beautiful, it smells great, and it attracts the bees in droves. They absolutely love it, and they work it. They work the lavender. We will have lavender honey, right? So because we're going to be keeping bees and planting lots of lavender, our honey will actually be lavender honey, which I can't tell you how excited I am about that. But yeah, I've been doing lavender for 4 years now, and what's really cool is I used to sit out in my yard, and bees are a very organized animal. And I would sit out every day at like lunchtime. I'd sit there in my yard with my lavender plants surrounding me, and the same bee would come back and work the same plant every day. Like you could see he was the same bee. So this bee, I'd sit there eating lunch every day, and the bee would literally be right next to me working the lavender plant, and I'd have conversations with them. Oh, how you doing, Mr. Bee? And he was just, so bees are an amazing animal. One of the things I'm so passionate about farming and not using the pesticides, because, a lot of so-called right-wing America, they get so turned off by the Ponzi schemes. They get so turned off by the whole, oh, you're destroying the earth, global temperature change thing, right? That they ignore a lot of the arguments that actually are accurate. Like, all of us should care about the bees, and all of us should be bothered by the big agricultural industry, right? Monsanto, Roundup, like all of us should be bothered by what they do in terms of hurting our environment, and they do hurt our bees. And I'm so thankful, I'm so grateful that I'm in a position where I'll be able to keep bees, right? That I'll be able to have my own beehives and take care of my bees, and the bees will take care of me in turn and my family, right? And the more people that embrace organic farming, embrace beekeeping, and stop, vote at the grocery store. Stop buying non-organic products. Like, every time you do that, you're supporting Monsanto. Every time we do that, we're supporting Monsanto destroying the environment, killing the bees, hurting the natural biodiversity of the planet, right? And these are things I'm very passionate about. In fact, I'm probably going to start making more videos about me being an environmentalist, because I am an environmentalist. Make no mistake about it. And I don't care if that turns people off the wrong way. Now, I don't buy into the fake Al Gore narratives, right? Like, the Earth isn't being destroyed by you breathing, right? And the planet isn't, in my opinion, temperatures aren't changing because the manner through which you live your life. Now, there's partial truths in that. Like, there are global corporations that are supported by the very people that are telling us, oh, you're the reason the earth is being destroyed, right? There are global corporations like Monsanto who are catastrophic for the planet. They're catastrophic. What they're doing to the bees, what they do to wildlife in general, right? So, but we can't control them. What we could control is how we live our lives. We can keep bees. We can not spend our money on products that have Roundup sprayed on them, right? And I do have many of you know I wrote the book You Are What You Eat. I wrote part 2 of that. It's You Are What You Eat part 2, which is all about what companies like Monsanto do to the planet. But actually, it's really about it doesn't really bring up the planet, but it's what companies like Monsanto do to our food supply, right? Right, due to the food that we eat and the effects that have on our body. Unfortunately, and I've just been procrastinating. My illustrator lives in the bad country, right? I found her on Fiverr.com a few years ago. She's a phenomenal human being. She is an absolutely splendid human being, a wonderful person. She is an amazingly talented illustrator, the author of Cubs to Bears, Masha Noir. She is a dental student. She's been in college, working to get her degree and become a dentist. right? Just a phenomenal human being. And they do these global sanctions, right? Like, people don't want to talk about what they're talking about with that is they are making it difficult for people in that country, regular people, to like able to afford food. Like, when they do sanctions like that, they're starving people, like good people. And it's because these globalist control freaks who try to control everything we do, just like they can try to control other countries, right? So it really is a travesty, and I'm not going to get too into it on a platform like this because I've told myself I won't on these platforms because it's not worth it to me. Like, I really should start doing a podcast where we just talk about the world. But, you know, there is value in spreading this stuff a little bit as much as I can and letting all of you know my positions in the world because, you know, I come to people every day and I say, you should trust me to assist you in the education of your children. Well, if you don't know who I am, if you don't know what I stand for, why would you do that, right? Why would you do that? So there is value in that. I just have to be very careful because I've been burnt. I've been burnt. I've been burnt a few times on these platforms. So, yeah, Melissa, you crush. You crush. So, anyway, I've been having a hard time getting that second book out because she's in the bad country, and then I was like, oh, well, there's a platform they have there where I could just pay her through that platform, no big deal, she illustrates my book. And then my friend, I was speaking to my buddy who's an attorney, and I was just talking to him about the situation. I didn't call him for legal advice, but he's an attorney, and he's a friend of mine. And I was talking to him about the situation, and he started doing attorney brain. And he was like, well, Brett, have you considered that this could happen, right? And he's like, and if this happens, you've just opened yourself up to a lot of vulnerabilities, right? You've made yourself liable here. And I was like, shit, you know? Because I knew he was right. Right? Because they're making it very difficult to interact financially with that part of the world. So now I'm kind of in a conundrum, right? Where I don't know if I should do that. And it's like, it's held off. That's why I haven't came out with any new books this year. So like, in a place where I'm like, all right, do I just go forward? Because I know I'm not doing anything wrong. And Masha's a phenomenal human being. Phenomenal. Do I just go forward? Or do I worry about that liability and push off the Cubs to Bears book series? You can put yourself in a situation that causes problems for you. It's a hard situation. Yeah, right. And it's like, so I'm like, all right, do I just push off the Cubs to Bears book series? Because I'm not going to, I don't want another illustrator to work on Masha's, like, she's built this, like her creative energy, she's put her soul into this. Like, Cubs to Bears wouldn't be Cubs to Bears without Masha Noir. She's a phenomenal human being. She's extremely intelligent. I write very complex scripts, in spite of them being children's books, with layers of context in my books. And she reads the scripts and she understands them on a very deep level. And in her illustrations, she actually adds depth. She adds layers to what I do with Cubs to Bears. And so I wouldn't want someone to, like, Charisma Cat is her creation. Charisma Cat is, I mean, it's my creation in my mind, but then she brought Charisma Cat to life, right? Like, so I'm like, okay, well, I have written books outside of Cubs to Bears. Like, I've written The Peanut Trap. So, like, do I start writing books outside of Cubs to Bears, and then when things calm down, just resume the Cubs to Bears series, right? Like, a book that I started brainstorming around is I want to write a book on leadership, to teach children about leadership. Do I do that book and just make it not Cubs to Bears? Like, make a new, I can make a whole new universe, right? That's slightly annoying, right? Like, I have built up Cubs to Bears. Like, Cubs to Bears is something. Cubs to Bears is a brand. It has equity. It's an asset for me. So, like, do I have to start building something else up now, like, until things calm down? So I've been dealing with all of this, but that's, that's not me complaining. I'm literally talking out loud. Like, what do you guys think? I don't know. It's, unfortunately, the world is controlled by very sadistic, narcissistic, power-hungry people, and we have to navigate around them, right? We have to navigate around them. So, but that's what we do, and that's why every day I come on here and I put my message out into the world that people should be rejecting that culture, right? Reject materialism, reject keeping up with the Joneses, try to live within your means, stay out of debt, because a man who's out of debt is a dangerous person. Like, you're hard to control, right? Reject modern culture at every turn. Reject hookup culture at every turn, and be a good example for young people. Be a great example for young people. Like, show them that getting married and being a husband, being a wife, that's where your life is really, that's where you find satisfaction in your life. That's where the value comes from, right? Like, I have a person in my life in that other room, right? Mrs. Classical Learner, Nicole, and she is behind me with everything. She's the wind behind my back. And that's like, you become empowered. Like, when you have children, you realize what nonsense all the other stuff is, right? Like, nothing else matters. Like, what matters is family, because the moment you look your child in the eye for the first time, like, I looked my child in the eyes for the first time and I knew I had seen God, right? Because you could just see the divinity, the spark of divinity in a child's eyes. And it gives you purpose, it gives you focus, right? And show young people that, because right now our culture, with everything that happens, it's all about the chasing of materialism. It's MTV Cribs. It's Tekashi 6ix9ine, right? Walking around with all. I saw a video the other day. I have another sneaky TikTok channel that I don't post any videos on. I just do some recordings on them, and then I use that to post them on classicallearner.com. Because inexplicably TikTok, after my last silencing, took away my ability to green screen. So anyway, I had to do that in a makeshift way. But so I was on that channel and I went to the For You, and Tekashi 6ix9ine showed up, and I was watching this video, and he had all these watches on, and he was like, this is one house, this is two houses, this is three houses, this is four houses, and he was pulling out stacks of money, and I was like, this man is so spiritually depraved, and this is what they push on children, right? This is what they tell children that they should aspire to be. This is the example they set, right? And it's a disgusting culture. Like, I was watching Paul for Pockets of the Future, and he has a background in, he has a degree in psychology, and he's a very spiritual man. He's a very intelligent person. Pockets of the Future on YouTube. And he was talking about how people have all these mental illnesses, right? And people, they go to psychologists and they get diagnosed with this and they get diagnosed with that. But the one thing the system never does, like the DSM-5 never does, is it will say all these people are mentally ill, but it will never point at the system itself. Like, maybe the problem is this culture that all these depraved corporations push down on everyone. These depraved corporations who owe money to the banks. Lost connection. These depraved corporations who owe money to the banks, who are beholden to the insurance companies and the FDIC, right? Like, these systems of power, right? This culture they push on everyone that breeds mental illness, because people don't live in a natural state, and people are so detached from where they come from. Like, don't even, let alone God. Like, let alone God. Interesting. Like, people, they don't know where their food comes from. They don't know where anything comes from. Like, they go to the store and buy things, but they have no understanding of supply chains, right? Like, how things are made, right? People are detached from reality. And when you get enough people detached from reality, isn't that a breeding ground for mental illness? Couldn't the definition of mental illness be a separation from reality, right? Well, our entire system is separate from reality. So of course you have mentally ill people, right? I mean, you talk about the school system, how it breeds it, right? I mean, the school, you put children in this artificial environment where they have to go to this unnatural place from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. for 15 years. And they're told that they have to listen to the teachers. The teachers are the authority figure, that they break into these cliques, right? The school system, they all break into cliques, right? There's like the cool kids, the band kids. By the way, the band kids are very cool, so don't ever let them tell you differently. In fact, if I knowing what I know now, if I was put back into a situation as a child, and I probably, instead of being the crushing athlete that I was, I mean, I would still play sports, I loved it, but I definitely would have got involved in band and all those different things as well, like chess club, like I'd get involved in all that if I had to be in that environment. But instead, they break children up into these cliques. Children get bullied. They're told they're not allowed to fight back. You get bullied, you're not allowed to fight back. Go tell the teacher, and all that makes you is a tattletale, and then you get bullied some more, right? And then the bullying extends home onto social media, and then what happens? You have like this epidemic of young people with anxiety, depression. You have teen, try to avoid using said vernacular. You have the teen situation where a lot of them, they hurt themselves, and a lot of times that leads in their expiration, right? And then you have this depraved culture where, like, there's shows like that show that was on Netflix, 13 Reasons, which is basically, it encourages people to engage in that behavior. The whole point of that show is to justify that behavior. Well, what is that? So if you're someone who's having those type of thoughts, a 13, a 14, a 15-year-old having those type of thoughts, and you watch that Netflix show, well, what does it tell you should do? In fact, it glorifies the girl that engaged in that behavior. It encourages young people to engage in that behavior, right? So this is the culture we live in. This is what our children are dealing with. But we can beat that all back. Like, we can beat that back by following God, by embracing tradition, rejecting hookup culture, being husbands, being wives, homeschooling our children. And that's what I do, by the way. I run a homeschool company, www.classicallearner.com. We have a private homeschool community, Homeschools Connected, amazing mothers, amazing fathers whose accumulative knowledge alone from all of our members is more valuable than anything I could offer. We have parents of 11 children, Melissa RVing across America, who's in the chat right now. She has 7 children, veteran, be fruitful and multiply, absolutely. Spread the Garden of Eden. Veteran homeschool mother, years of experience. We have hundreds of them. And we have a running conversation between all these homeschool parents who are helping one another with, hey, this is what I've experienced with my schooling. This is what I did. Have any of you ran into this? Yeah, this is what I did. Here's what you can do. Hey guys, I'm having this problem. Have any of you came across this? Oh, my child had that behavioral problem. This is what I did, right? So we have this amazing community of homeschool parents. We have state groups in which people, like if you live in New York, you can connect with other people in the state of New York. We've had people meet up in the real world after meeting on Homeschools Connected, right? We have A pen pal program in which our children are writing back and forth to one another, which is really cool. We have so many things. I teach original curriculum every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. I teach a class. Right now, I'm teaching a course on the Bill of Rights, right? Free speech, the right to assemble, to petition, redress of grievances, the right to bear arms, the right to privacy, right? The right to a trial, habeas corpus, right? So I'm teaching a class on the Bill of Rights, and we're relating it back. Really, it's on the Bill of Rights and the American Revolution. We offer a course on propaganda that I teach using the Cubs to Bears children book series. I'm teaching a course on the media industrial complex where we teach children how to actually track the money. So we don't just say fake news. We say, okay, these 5 corporations control 90% of what you see in media. Love the homeschool connected community. Very grateful I joined. Yeah, and we're very grateful to have you, Foster Bear, because you're Foster Bear, foster mother, very special person, right? Like we have the abortion debate in the public sphere only because that's what they want everyone talking about right now, which like I've gone back and forth. Like, should I play into that? Should I even talk about it? Like, clearly that's what they want us to be talking about right now. You know, they treat people like flies, and rightfully so. People act like flies. So like for 2 years, they could literally eviscerate all of our basic human rights, and then they could just quickly change the subject with a foreign entanglement, and then they go to abortion, and everyone just forgets about, like, oh, that didn't just happen. Like, no, that's still the topic of conversation. We know what you just did. In fact, one of those depraved companies, the one starting with a P, just released a 90,000-page document, right, that they were forced to release through a Freedom of Information Act, right? And the finding, you can look up the findings from that. You can go look those up on your own. And the reason companies like that, when they get that, like they get a Freedom of Information Act request, and they have to release information. So what they do is they release 90,000 pages in size 8 writing. And the reason they do that is they're like, well, no one will ever get through it anyway. And even if they do, they'll probably miss the one thing we were trying to hide. Right? They're probably trying to hide 2 lines in that whole document. Right? That's the same reason, like, have you ever wondered why when they propose new bills, right, new legislation, it's always like, it's a 90,000 page bill. Yeah, why is that? Because they're trying to hide things in the bill, right? That's why they do that. Lobbyists write those bills. So big corporations write the bills, and the lobbyist who assist in writing the bill is 90,000 pages. Then they lobby the politicians. They get it passed. No one knows what's in it, right? That's the famous line from Obamacare. I think it was Nancy Pelosi. They were like, did you read it? And she was like, well, you have to pass it to find out what's in it. Oh, you have to pass it to find out what's in it. But that's not unique to Pelosi. Pelosi, that's my Trump, right? He's always like, it's Pelosi's fault. It's Pelosi. I'm going to get Nancy Pelosi. All right. But that's not unique to Pelosi. I mean, she's definitely is, she's something. She's something. If you know, allegedly, if you want to get some, I know a lot of people that follow her, Wall Street picks. Pelosi. Right? But that's why they do these 90,000 page bills, right? Right? Now compare that. That's why when people are like, "Oh, the founding fathers, these guys were bad." They didn't write a 90,000 page bill. They wrote the Bill of Rights. It's 10 amendments, and the Bill of Rights is 10 amendments, and it's on a few pages. Like each amendment is like 3 lines. Yeah, I think they were trying to do something good. The Constitution itself is 30 pages, like small pages. Right? It's not 90,000 pages. Oh, but they were Freemasons, don't you know? You're not based in Red Pill, don't you know? Yeah, I know, they were Freemasons. I know Benjamin Franklin had the bodies of like 100 people found under his house. I'm aware of that. I'm just telling you the world might be a little bit more complex than, aren't you based in Red Pill, Blow? Aren't you based in Red Pill? We need a new constitutional convention. Yeah, what do you think is going to come out of your new constitutional convention? Where do you think that's going to go? Let me guess. It's going to be a 90,000 page document that takes away all your rights. Don't you know Thomas Jefferson was a bad man? Don't you know? Yeah, you know. Okay. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, amongst them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Don't you know Thomas Jefferson was evil? No, I'm not so sure actually. I'm not so sure about that. You're not even based in red pill, bro. You don't even know the Illuminati. You don't even know. Don't you see the symbolism? Don't you see? Don't you see the symbolism? Oh my God, they're throwing up devil horns. Ready? Someone screenshot that. Don't you know he's Illuminati? Don't you know? Didn't you see he went like that? Oh, don't you know he's Illuminati? He threw up devil horns. Yeah, there are bad people in those groups. Yeah, they've done a lot of bad things. But like you're like, oh, 300 years ago, Ben Franklin was a Freemason. 300 years? Do you know how much changes in 300 years? Do you know how much changes from the time the United States of America is founded to today? I was listening to E. Michael Jones. And E. Michael Jones buys into like everything Catholic. And don't get me wrong, the guy's done some good things, but like he's like, oh, the Pope is so great, Catholicism. Yeah, E. Michael. And he was talking about the Trinity, and he was like, how can you say the Trinity isn't right as the Catholic Church describes it? There have been scholars working on deciphering the Trinity for 300 years. I'm like, oh, so they've been working on this for 300 years? So you're telling me that things don't get corrupted in 300 years? The Catholic Church can't go 3 months without a new scandal. And we know what type of scandal I'm talking about. They literally can't go 3 months without a massive scandal, right? But they've gone 300 years without their study being corrupted? Ah! Oh, I'm E. Michael Jones. I wear a bow tie. I don't mean to go so hard at E. Michael, but I don't like how he treated Owen Benjamin. I don't think the way he treated Owen was cool. Like they had a friendship. I don't like how he treated Owen. So I'll call out his nonsense. Like absolute nonsense. Like he publicly accused the guy of blasphemy. And for believers, like if you're a believer, right? To accuse someone of blasphemy, right? Like, no, brother. Like, that's not cool. That's not like, shall I say, that's not Christian. E. Michael. Attacked his family. Not cool. There have been scholars studying it for 300 years. You can't go 3 months without being corrupted. You think you went 300 years? Anyway. The Trinity, I'm not, how's the Ira voice? Where's the Ira voice? They're trying to hurt me. I'm trying to do the Ira voice. They're trying to hurt me. Right? The Trinity. I don't know. I'm not good with voices. I'll stay in my lane. I've been practicing voices for 300 years. Illuminati confirmed. I'm sorry. I've been practicing voices for 333 years. Illuminati confirmed. I'll have to get that started to homeschool my special needs. The school wasn't meeting her needs. Check out Memoria Press. Memoria Press, Gemini Homeschooling. They both have some good resources available for children with special needs. Now, obviously, I don't know what you're talking about, right? Like, there's a wide range of special needs. So, you know, I mean, just in autism alone, I mean, the spectrum, the umbrella of autism is so wide. It's so vast. I mean, it's like you can have someone with Asperger's who may be literally the most intelligent person you've ever come across, right? And then on the other end of the spectrum, there are certain people with autism who are so delayed that it's like they never advance beyond 4 or 5 years old, right? So within special needs, I mean, there's a very wide spectrum. And by the way, if you have one of those children who are really on the severe end of autism, that doesn't mean they can't live a great life, and that doesn't mean they don't have value in this world, because they're beautiful and they have tremendous amount of value in the world. And a lot of the time, those children become hyper focused on one thing or another, and they could actually be very talented at like their brain might just be hyper focused on one aspect of life. I signed up to the community. I like the work you're doing. Yeah, happy to have you. I really appreciate it. And I try to inbox all new members within 72 hours. I was a little behind this past week, although I did a lot of catching up yesterday. I was inboxing a ton of new accounts yesterday, which was cool. I enjoy getting to know everyone. And so, yeah, if I haven't inboxed you yet, I will, and we'll talk about your situation and everything going on with what you have going on. Foster Bear, I appreciate that I was cracking you up. As Nicole, as I tell my wife all the time, I am hilarious. It has been confirmed. The people have confirmed I am hilarious. Confirmed. Yeah, I think I want to start a channel on an alternative social media where I just talk about the world. I think I'd really enjoy that, and I think a lot of people, like, I feel like people would want to tune into that. Maybe I could start like once a week. Maybe I could start once a week and I could interview interesting people. Ooh, a podcast. Ooh. They really don't. I'm always trying to find other parents that understand. Yeah, we do have parents as well with children with special needs, and I always encourage people or parents with children in similar situations to form own little groups. Like, if you have a child on the autism spectrum, right, partner up with other parents who have children also with autism, and talk to each other, text each other. These are my experiences. This is what I'm going through. Have you gone through this? What is your people are valuable. Like, build community, and you don't even know going in how much value there could be. Like, you'd be surprised. It absolutely does not define who they are. Is that why you're not here, Marine Princess? 9:30? How do you sleep until 9:30? I'm how is that possible? I'm asking for me and my wife. How is that possible? I don't mean from a like, how is that? I mean like from a logistical standpoint. The children don't wake you up. That is like the eighth wonder of the world. I mean, I wake up anyway. I wake up nice and early. Like, I'm up at anywhere from 3 to 5:30 a.m., depending on when I went to sleep the night before. But Nicole, she sleeps until the children wake her. And if anyone could teach her, or us, how to get those children to sleep until 9:30, that would be amazing. Yeah, 6:45 there. But that's what I always tell people, like Marine Princess is just, she has a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience. And she's trained by the United States Marines. She's a lethal weapon. She could show up at any time and take anyone out. She's she's a lethal weapon. And now she gets the children to sleep, which is amazing. I wake up at 6:45. Yeah, that's my children usually wake up around then. Sun comes up, my kids are up. I'm up at 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m. My 3-year-old will chill in bed with me, and my 7-year-old can take care of himself. That's amazing. Welcome to the life of homeschoolers. Yeah, usually what happens in my house is I wake up early, and then the children wake up, and at like 6:30, and they jump on Nicole, and then she'll either get them to stay in bed for a little bit, or if she's tired, she sends them down, and I watch them while she sleeps a little bit longer, and then me watching them could either be me working a little bit and getting them to do something, or me just hanging out with them and doing some school stuff or whatever it might be, or cooking breakfast or hanging out. I can't handle not having some time to myself before the kids are awake. Yeah, well then you got to wake up early, right? So that's key. So it's either, right, you either go to bed. Here's my thing with the kids, right? Like, and people, like, God bless them. People who let their children stay up late, I don't understand. Like Nicole and I are so present in our children's lives that, like, bedtime is a necessity for us. Like, 7:30 comes and those children are going to bed because we need some time to unwind. Like, it is important. And this is something that I think we should talk about more as a homeschool community. It is important as parents, like, you need you time. And, like, Nicole, she's amazing because I get so much more you time than Nicole does. Like, yes, like, yeah, I'm working right now, right? But let's be honest, this is awesome, right? Like, I'm hanging out with a bunch of my friends, and we're talking about life and the world, and we're joking, and we're crushing, and we're trying to figure out how Marine Princess crushes so hard that she could sleep until 10:30 a.m. And, right, like, this is just fun and crushing. But, like, Nicole, like, she's with the children right now, and Aubrey's on her. Like, Aubrey's 11 months old, she nurses, right? So she is on Nicole 24/7. Like, she does not get a lot of you time, right? And, you know, she makes Classical Learner and Homeschools Connected possible because she spends so much time with the children. Like, I woke up this morning and I was putting together a lesson plan, and then I filmed the class for the most recent lesson plan in the nature unit study, right? So I'm putting together a lesson plan. I'm filming a class. Now I'm out here and I'm doing a live stream and I'm hanging out with my friends, and Nicole's just with the children, right? So, like, it's important to find ways to get you time, especially when you homeschool. And, like, to me, like, you got to make sure those children, they're in bed at 7:30, so that, like, Nicole needs that time to unwind, right? She needs that time at night. She's more of a night owl. Like, she likes to sit back at night, maybe kick up her feet, watch some television. She works on things for Homeschools Connected. Like, she made, all of you this week are going to get this cool bee poster that Nicole made. But she made that at night when she's just sitting there watching TV. So she needs that time. Whereas like to me, I have that time, so it's not as pressing. But like those children, what's going on, Todd? Those children, they need to go to sleep. So yeah, definitely get that time. Don't ever feel bad about like 7:30 comes, hard bedtime. No, you need to go to bed and do what you have to do. Because to me, that's just needed. You get the battery charger? Oh, I didn't know if you were charging the car battery.
No, I need a generator.
Oh, generator. Yes, bedtime is a must for us, stay-at-home parents. I have to take the time and not feel guilty for it. Yeah, it's so needed. It's like, here's the thing. If you give yourself some of that free time, if you free some of that time up for yourself, then you'll actually be able to give your children more when you're with them. So like take that time, recharge. Don't be hard to, but like let your children play independently at time. Tell them, no, for the next hour you're doing independent play, and I'm getting my nails done, right? Like take that time for yourself, recharge, and then your children will get more value out of you from doing that. It's tougher when they're young to do that. My kids are 7 and 10. The snuggles die down a little and independence goes up. Yeah, well, we miss the snuggles, but that's why I love having a daughter. And here's the thing, like, obviously, like, it's the best to snuggle your children, but I've always, like, don't get me wrong, like, I snuggle my son, but, like, not too much, because I feel like, as a father, I need to make sure that he's strong, and I don't think it's good to snuggle him too much as a father. But my daughter, on the other hand, like, I'm such like a little wimp for my daughter. She just melts me. I just want to carry her and hug her all day. So, but yeah, definitely value those snuggles. Like that's the best. That's absolutely the best. It's all about the phases of life. That's where I'm at with my 7-year-old, pure independence. Yeah, and here's the thing, like, you want your children, by the time they get to middle school, doing a lot of their work independently, like a lot of it. Because you want them, by the time they get to high school, doing 80% of their work independently. So you have to start training and coaching them so that you could achieve that as they get older. So, all right, guys, I think I'm going to call it a stream. I'm classicallearner.com on everything. If you want to be a part of what we're doing, Homeschools Connected, go to www.classicallearner.com. Sign up for Homeschools Connected. Use the promo code FREEDOM, all lowercase. It's $10 a month, and we'd love to have you. So, all right, check that out, and I'll be back tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. I am posting the nature unit study, lesson number 18, this week. I'll be posting it later today. I just have to edit the video I filmed today. So I'll post that. The children will be making their own bumblebee baths, which is really cool. And I look forward to sharing that with everyone. Also, Nicole made a really cool poster that all of you will be getting for free. And if anyone wants like the poster, I'm going to post it on classicallearner.com for the general public. Oh no, what did I just do? I think I accidentally put someone in a timeout. Sorry, Foster Bear. Oops. All right, I don't know what that means. Foster Bear, I accidentally put you in a timeout. Hide you? No. I don't know. Foster Bear, sorry. Oh, it's just for 300 seconds and you're back. Timeout, Foster Bear. Yeah, she does. She actually, if the Bill of Rights poster that she made, that everyone had, as everyone got for free with Homeschools Connected, she actually sells that on Etsy for like $1, and we made it into a poster, and she sells that poster on classicallearner.com. And we're gonna do the same thing with the. You're gonna see it with the nature unit studies. She made this awesome graphic about bumblebees. So we're gonna make that into a poster and put it on Etsy as well. So all right, guys, classicallearner.com. This has been lots of fun. Make sure you get that free time. And if you have any questions or whatever, hit us up. Hit us up. You tell me who won. I see them, they run. Tupac Shakur, gangster. All right, I'll call it on that. I'll give it a 10-second count because it runs on a 10-second delay. And I want to make sure you guys see my Tupac Shakur rap. You got to see my gangster rap because I think that's important for the morale, for the spirits of the stream. So, you know. All right, guys. Life is too short not to garden. We must all garden. All right, guys. Cheerio. Cheerio. Talk like you're from London. You talk like you're from London.